Welcome to the channel if it's your first time here, and welcome back if it's not. Now in today's video, which is sponsored by AliExpress, I'm going to be looking at this. And this rather unusual looking device is a brand new Nintendo Entertainment System, or Famicom, depending on where in the world you are. I found it on AliExpress and I thought, I have to get this because it looks absolutely fascinating, and I'm sure some of you would be interested in it too. We'll go into the details of it in a second, but essentially this guy here will cost you around about 80 to 85 pounds, which feels like a lot of money, but I think it's actually pretty good value for money, and I'll explain as we go further on into the video. But yeah, if you want to pick up this or anything else from AliExpress from that matter, then you can use these coupons that are on the screen at the moment. Now the coupons do have a limited life, so if the expiry date on the screen has passed, what you should do is look in the video description and I'll make sure there are some up-to-date coupon codes in there. So yeah, if you want to save yourself a bit of money, use these codes right here. So let's have a little closer look at this device because it's fascinating. First of all, it comes in this sort of Perspex box, and this is probably the only thing I'm not overly keen on with this design, although it will make filming this video easier for me because you can actually see what's going on inside here without me having to dismantle it. It would be amazing to get like a 3D printed case that looked like an original Famicom and install this into it. But yeah, what have we got? So on the front here, we have got two controller ports, the sort of standard NES and Famicom AV ones. And then on the side here, we've got the 15-pin Famicom controller connector. And then around the back, this is where things get really interesting. So on the back here, we've got a Sega Saturn video output, and that sends out RGB signals, that sends out composite video signals. So, you know, the standard yellow, red and white cables, and also that has an S video signal coming out of it as well. So it's a really good connector because it's got lots of connection options within it. And then next out, we've got a stereo audio output, which you could use in conjunction with the VGA connector. Yes, this has a VGA output. And then amazingly, it's got an HDMI output as well on the back. And then here is our power input, and the power input will work with any 9 to 12 volt DC input. Then on the bottom, we've just got the bottom of the PCB. And then on the top here, we've got our power on and off switch. We've got our reset switch, and then we've got our cartridge port, which accepts Famicom size cartridges, or if you've got an adapter, which I'll show you later on in the video, you can put standard NES cartridges in. So why do I think this is so cool? Well, I think it's really fascinating because it actually takes an official Nintendo CPU. Now, it doesn't actually come with an official Nintendo CPU in it. It's actually got a clone unit. But if you have got an original Nintendo CPU, you can put it in this and it will work. I'll show you how you make it work in a mo. Now this is fixed at 60 Hertz. So you can put a PAL CPU into this if you wanted to, but PAL games would then run at 60 Hertz, so they would be sped up. You probably wouldn't have the best experience playing PAL games with a PAL CPU in this, but you could do if you wanted to. And it's all socketed for you, so you don't need to have to desolder this every time you want to swap out the CPU. You can just pop in one, which I think is great and really, really forward thinking. So yeah, let's just go a little bit closer so you can see exactly what we've got in here. And if you're interested in any of the chips or anything, then you can pause it and take a sort of better look. So yeah, this is a essentially clone CPU. Now you might be wondering, well, what about the PPU? Because Famicoms and Nintendo Entertainment Systems also have a PPU, which is the picture processing unit. And that is this chip here. I'll put up on the screen the name of the chip because I can't remember it offhand. But this is an FPGA chip. So this chip, to put it in very basic terms, is pretending to be a Nintendo PPU. That's its sole purpose. This chip here thinks that it's a Nintendo PPU, And who are we to argue with it? So yeah, this chip here is doing all the work that the PPU would normally be doing. And I just think that is so smart. I mean, it would be amazing to have a chip in here that mimics the original CPU and PPU all on one chip. And that might be such a thing that's actually out there. Maybe they might have those in the Mr. FPGA console devices. Maybe. I don't know much about those. Now, if you do want to do a CPU swap on here and change it, you can, but you need to adjust these guys up here. And we've got some little dip switches there. And the dip switches tell the console what mode to operate in. Now, I will put the different switch configurations up on the screen. So this switch position, which it's in now, is for a Dendy CPU. And then this switch position here is for a PAL CPU. And then this position here is for an NTSC CPU. I shared this on Reddit actually, in the NES subreddit when I received it. And I sort of thought it'd be interesting to see if there are any games and things that wouldn't be compatible with this. Because in theory, this should work just like a normal Famicom. And apparently, on the whole, they do work pretty much like a normal Famicom. But people have run into issues, especially with the clone CPUs running homebrew games. So yeah, I don't actually have any Nintendo homebrew games. And I did ask people for specific examples if they had any games that might fail so we could see what happens, but no one actually replied. So yeah, if there's any homebrew games that you want me to try on this and you can point me in the right direction, let me know in the comments and I will happily help. So I think what we should do now is get this plugged in to test. Now, I think what I'm going to do in the first instance is try out this Sega Saturn video port, because I've got a Sega Saturn S-video cable and it would be interested to see how that works and what kind of picture quality we get. It should be pretty good, but I imagine the picture quality that we get through the HDMI will be absolutely... So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in some power using my Famicom AV power supply, which I've got. So let me have a little shufty around, make sure everything's connected, then we'll step back in a second and hopefully we'll be ready to rock and roll. Okay, so it's all set up. I've got an original Nintendo controller here so we can play some games. And talking of playing some games, I've got this Everdrive N8 cartridge that I picked up on AliExpress, and it allows you to play backed up copies of all your legally owned games. So yeah, I thought I would use this to test it. I think this cost me around about £25-ish. I'll make sure there's a link to it in the video description. So let's put it in. Okay, that's good. The cartridge slot didn't feel like horrendously tight. A lot of these clone consoles can have really tight cartridge slots, but that felt fine. That's good. Right, it does have a little LED on the front. That's awesome. I didn't know if it had a power LED or not. So hopefully, if I press the power button, it should just boot up like a normal Nintendo. Oh, green. Yeah. Yes. Excellent. Ha, nice. That's pretty cool. Let's just try Mario Brothers. I love it. Okay, so that looks pretty decent really. Like I said, because it's coming through an S-video signal, it's never going to be absolutely crisp and beautiful. But when you think about what a NES normally looks like, especially through an RF output, that is pretty good. And also, I'm just using a very cheap S-video cable as well. But that's looking pretty decent. Let's try a different game. Let's try Contra. Lots of people like Contra on the NES. What I think I'll do now is I'll just rejig things slightly and we can test the HDMI output of this device and see how it performs. Yeah, that is it plugged in. Now, what's really interesting about this is you can actually plug this into multiple displays at once. So you could have it running through the HDMI, the VGA, the S-Video or RGB or composite all at the same time. You could have this running on multiple monitors. I don't really have the capability to test that, but if you wanted to do that, this does work. I've been told that it does, and it looks pretty good actually. So let's see if it looks pretty good through the HDMI output. There we go. That is crisp. That is super crisp. Wow. Let me go and do a bit of Super Mario. So much like the Lava RGB mod that I did to Jim's console, there are actually some tricks you can do on the controller to change settings of this. So we can change the color palette, and to do that you have to hold down up, start and select, and that should cycle through the color palette. So let's try that. Yep. Excellent. Now the cycling through the color palettes works whether you're on HDMI, VGA or the other output. Yeah, that works universally. And then I think if you press select and start and left and hold it, you can switch the resolution that it outputs at. So there's two resolutions. There's 1280 by 1024 or 640 by 480. This is in 640 by 480 at the moment. So we do that. Should switch to the higher resolution. Yep, it's gone up to 1280. Right, so now you can turn on and off scan lines if you want, and you do that by select start and then right. Oh, don't like that. Do not like that. I mean, it gives you that sort of CRT experience, but I'm not a fan. Yeah, let's keep the scan lines off. Don't like those at all. Okay, well, we've gone into the game now, so we can do that. And then there's one final button thing that you can do, and you do select start and B, and that will reset the console. Like that. Right, let's go and have a look at how Super Mario Bros. 3 looks. So we saw that earlier. That is amazing how good it looks. And to me, someone who's played a NES a fair bit, it actually looks and sounds exactly like I think a NES should. I don't think there's any weird glitches or sounds or anything strange. Now, something I wanted to try is an actual NES cartridge, because I've got one of those. Now, to play this, we need an adapter. I'll stick a link to this one in the video description, and you have to put the cartridge in backwards for this one, because on there it says NES back and Famicom front. So in theory this should boot up a little bit of Nintendo Golf. Boom, there we go. Excellent. I wonder what this will do if we put a PAL cartridge into it, because this is an NTSC game, which it's used to and it's expecting. So I've got here my PAL copy of Super Mario Bros. 3. I imagine it will probably play, but it'll probably be like very fast and not quite sounding right, or maybe not even looking right. Okay, so it's playing, but it's playing faster. Okay, so yeah, if you put in a PAL CPU into this, it will still play just as fast. It's all to do with the crystal that's in it, basically. So yes, this doesn't really like PAL games, so that's fair enough. So I think what I'll do now is I'll show you some popular games sort of just in demo mode, or I'll play a little bit of it so you can see what it looks like with the HDMI output of this. And then we'll finish up the video.
We made a bit of a mistake, which I don't discover until a little later on in the video. If you can spot the mistake I've made, then put the timestamp of this moment right now in the comments and the mistake that I made. See if you can spot it.
Do you know what? I quite like this. I really like it, actually. I love fascinating sort of clone consoles and weird quirky things, but with quite a lot of them, they do feel like they have some downsides. But I don't feel like this one does, really. The only thing I noticed was there was a small graphical glitch on Double Dragon. One of the squares in the corner didn't look right. I can only assume it might be some sort of glitchy incompatibility with the clone CPU, maybe. But I think if you put in an original Nintendo CPU into this, you really do have a fantastic machine. Now, lots of people go, oh, well, you should run on original hardware. And that's fine if you have the capabilities. I have got a video converter here, so I can convert most old video signals into HDMI. Actually, let me show you it. I've picked up this. It's a GBSC Pro from Retroscaler. I use this to get the S-video footage that you saw earlier on in the video. And yeah, so if you have something like this, you can convert your signals from your original consoles into HDMI that a new telly would accept. Or if you're a proper purist, you've probably got a big CRT to play your old consoles on. In the modern sort of world and in modern households, it's not always easy to have your sort of big normal TV and then have a massive CRT tucked away somewhere for you to play retro games on. Devices like this are ideal for people who want to play retro games on the original controllers and have the feel and the excitement that they used to, but they can just plug it into their TV in the living room. The only thing really that does let it down is the fact that it's in this Perspex case. I think these are sort of relatively new things, so maybe someone will come up with a case that looks like an old Famicom. If I was better at 3D modeling, I'd probably give it a go myself, but yeah, I think because it's so far away from like the Famicom AV, for example, because it's got these ports in the middle here, and the Famicom AV has them tucked to the side upwards. Yeah, I don't think I could manage to do it with my skills, but someone might. If you want something that feels like a NES, plays like a NES, then this is it. This is your guy. It doesn't look like a NES, but it does the job. And the fact that it's made with modern components gives you reliability, because again, that is another downside with old consoles. I've made loads of videos on fixing old consoles because they break. But something like this printed on modern circuit boards with modern components is less likely to. Well, anyway, in the near future at least. And like the fact that you can swap in original CPUs into it, should you wish to, you can. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to have your NES experience out of the box, all you've got to do is add a controller, a power supply and the video cable of your choice, and you can play your NES games. Well, maybe not your UK NES games, but you know, you could pick up one of these if you wanted to and play backed up copies of your originals. I'm really glad that I investigated this device. At 80 odd pounds, it's not the cheapest thing, but it's pretty decent. And I think it's probably just about well worth that money. I think what I might be doing in the future is an OpenTendo build. So I'm going to build a brand new front loading NES on a brand new circuit board and literally solder all the components on and put that together. So if that's something you're interested in seeing, let me know in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed if you aren't already. I really want to get to 30,000 subscribers. I want to smash 30,000 subscribers, to be honest with you. So yeah, if you want to see me do an OpenTendo, then let me know, and make sure you're subscribed. Well, I am going to go and play some more classic Famicom and NES games, and you go and enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, but for now, it's game over.